Hi, friends. Welcome back to Faith in Pieces, where we build our faith together piece by piece and story by story. Throughout this week, we're going to be putting out 3 episodes related to our alignment with Reconciling Ministries Network. We have 3 great conversations with pastors from all around this conference who have done different work in aligning with Reconciling Ministries Network. And so these can just act as additional resources in the week leading up to our vote. After listening to these episodes, again, if you have any questions, if there's any conversation that you would like to have, you can always reach out to myself or Pastor Whitney. We would love to sit down with you. And you can also reach out to any of our focus group members. Our focus group members are listed on our website at mosaicumctx.org/RMN. So here's an episode in our new series on Reconciling Ministries Network. All right, so we are here with Julia Riley, who is one of the co-pastors at Galveston Central. And so, Julia, we really appreciate you sitting down with a conversation as we get closer to our date of voting to align with Reconciling Ministries Network. Julia, how about you just tell us about yourself, what your role is at Galveston, how long you've been there, what all you do on a day-to-day basis. Anything you want to share would be great.
Yeah, hi. Thanks so much for having me. Um, yeah, my name is Julia, and I've been at Central since 2020. I came right at the beginning of COVID. Um, yeah, when I got to Central, it was already um, a reconciling congregation, already aligned with RMN, which is part of the reason I went there. It's a big part of what I care about and my ministry. Um, yeah, so kind of in the day to day, we do a lot of work also with the unsheltered community in Galveston. And so I kind of split time with Michael helping to run those services. I also oversee a lot of our small group ministries and kind of connectional um, discipleship type stuff. I get to preach a lot, which is awesome, and also help a lot of our kind of queer centric, LGBT centric ministry. I also oversee a lot of that. It's hard to like separate that out. It's just
Yeah.
a community within our congregation, obviously, but kind of the outreach in that department falls under me. So yeah, that's a lot of what I do.
Yeah. I bet it was very interesting being appointed to a church in the middle of COVID. God bless you for starting your first like official appointment in the middle of all of that.
It
Yeah,
was interesting.
yeah, for sure. So one of the reasons, Julia, that I think it's so important that we're going to have a lot of conversations with these podcasts, but I think it's really important to have a conversation with you because you are the chair of the RMN board for our conference, and so what does your role look like as chair of that board?
Yeah, and just I have a co-chair, so just in case
Gotcha.
he sees this.
Gotcha.
But yes, so yeah, we've been co-chairs for about a year now, and part of our role is, I mean, obviously like calling meetings, getting the board together, um, and making sure that we have an event every year at annual conference for anybody who's interested in kind of this side of ministry. So making sure that that happens. Um, we're kind of in a process as a board of figuring out like what is our role kind of in this
Mm,
new landscape of for so long we were focused on policy, like changing language in the book of discipline. And so we've shifted to um, we really want to help people in the conference, whether that's churches or individuals, build community with each other. So folks who care about LGBT folks, not anyway, folks who have this like kind of at the center of their ministry, building community, and then also education. So I think there are a lot of churches also that are interested in being more inclusive in welcoming LGBT folks, but don't know like what that next step is, or don't know how to make their space safer. And so those are kind of the two things that we're looking into for the next couple of years at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as co-chair, just kind of keep the ball rolling, make sure we're meeting,
Yeah.
and help us stay connected to like the larger Reconciling Ministries Network also.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, you talked about like roles kind of shifting, like especially after the 2024 General Conference. If you go to the website for RMN, part of our presentation that we did at our town halls, we talked about like what are we committing ourselves to?
Mm,
And part of what is still on their website is like advocating for
mm,
ordination and marriage. And so I've talked with at all of our town halls saying like a lot of great work and a lot of great steps were taken at the 2024 General Conference for
mhm.
that. But that doesn't mean that there's not still space for inclusion, for education, like continuing to live into what it means to be an inclusive church. So I'm glad to hear you say like there are still a lot of things that are happening with like educational resources, with connectional resources, with
Yeah.
inclusion resources that happen as a result of what the work of RMN is. So that's great.
Yeah.
Why do this is a big question, right? Like I know
Okay.
there could be like a lot of different answers to this one, but why do you think it's important that churches align themselves within the Reconciling Ministries Network?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I think is a big important thing for RMN, and I think for kind of similar organizations in other denominations, is like clarity is really important. There's a lot of language that can mean a lot of different things, right? Like we
Yeah,
welcome everybody, we are inclusive. I think inclusive has a more specific connotation, but um, there are plenty of churches that say, they welcome people, they welcome everybody, come as you are. But then once someone gets there and gets involved, maybe wants to start serving or be in leadership or get married, and then they find out, oh, this is actually not an LGBT affirming space. And so, one thing that I think is really helpful about like becoming an official reconciling congregation or aligning with RMN is clarity. Like you're saying very confidently, like this is something that's really important to us. We're committing to like these specific things. Like we will, like you can serve in leadership here. Like we'll perform marriages, like different things like that. And I think that just helps folks to know, like not that necessarily this place is perfect or has it all figured out, but
right.
at least there's like a baseline understanding of like I will not be asked to change
Yeah,
myself here, like
yeah,
in that sense.
yeah,
Um, so I think that's really important. And I think even as the UMC has gotten better on this, better from my perspective, obviously, on this issue, um, obviously like the political landscape is getting like increasingly hostile, and so I think it's even more important now just to be clear about who you are, where you're at, and this is like a big way to do that.
yeah, yeah,
And then I think the other piece is kind of goes with like what I was talking about, one of our goals, but the connection is really helpful. I think obviously any kind of like ministry or welcoming any kind of community comes with its own like challenges and like unique situations, and so there's resources and education opportunities, there's which some of that you can access even if you're not aligned, but um, just other people to talk to when you're like, hey, we had this person and it's something I've never experienced before. Like, how has your church handled this? Or, um, yeah, I think those are two of the big things
yeah.
that I've noticed, like in my time serving on the board and also like being a part of a church that is aligned.
Yeah. Yeah. I think whenever you're talking about clarity, one of the examples that I've used is I've encouraged people like, I want you to think of 5 churches that are in our area. And I want you to
Mm,
go to their website and I want you to read their Who We Are section. And I want you to tell me if you can like discern, are they affirming of LGBTQ folks or not? And I think largely what you're going to find is it may seem that they are, or it may feel
Yeah.
like they are. But we've talked about that too, of like people investing themselves in a specific church community and feeling like, oh, this is a place where I belong and who I am. And then
Mhm.
honestly, just like waiting until the other shoe drops and recognizing like, oh, this is not what I thought it was. And so
Yeah.
like we've talked a lot about how even just like having on our website like the logo for Reconciling Ministries
Mhm.
Network as a Reconciling Ministries Network church, it shows very clearly with clarity that this is a
Mhm.
place where you are safe. And like you said, like that doesn't like having that logo on your website does not mean your church is perfect, right?
No.
But it communicates to the LGBTQ plus community like this is a place where like that base level of safety will be ensured, right? Um,
Yeah, and that's huge,
yeah.
I think always, and it's huge right now too
Yeah,
with
for sure.
the world the way it is. So yeah.
Sure, sure. You talked about like connectional opportunities. So like within our annual conference, what opportunities for connection do we have through the Reconciling Ministries Network? What does that connection look like?
Yeah, yeah. So the one of the biggest things that has been consistent is our event at annual conference. We'll be doing that again. Last year we went to a really cool LGBT owned brewery and kind of just hung out and talked about things. So we'll be doing that again this year. We also we're working on like what it would look like to have we still have like few enough reconciling churches in our conference for this to be possible, but like quarterly like meetups, whether that's like a potluck or like a speaker or um like we've done like documentary screenings in the past. So what does it look like to meet up and to invite anybody from those congregations to come and learn something or like get to know each other or um like yeah, different like opportunities. um I think another helpful thing is like a yeah, like the connectional aspect of the UMC kind of in a microcosm. So like I hear of a friend that's like moving to like the
Right.
area where Westbury is or whatever it is, or somebody in that area reaches out and says, "Hey, I have, a trans friend and they're looking for a faith community." So that connection is like helpful too, to be able to like confidently be able to send people
Yeah.
to safe places. Um, and there's like the larger RMN network, obviously, too. And they're like always doing like webinars and they do a conference. I'm trying to remember what it's called because I've never been, but I would like to. But they do like an annual like meetup for folks to like meet people more like nationally also. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's so we've done like one-off events here and there, but that's one of our goals also for the next couple of years is like how do we keep people connected
Yeah.
even more and also like specifically like doing most of our events are LGBT folks and allies and everybody's welcome. And then we're looking to have some kind of like LGBT specific spaces also.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are things
Cool.
that we're working on. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you mentioned too, like, while the network is like full churches that align with RMN, while that network
yeah.
may be smaller, like in the Houston area, we've talked a lot about that. We've even like pulled up the map of going to Reconciling Ministries Network and showing the dots of
Mhm.
where those churches are. And we've been
Mhm.
able to say, like, if you look around us, like, this is kind of like a desert for places that belong to
Yeah.
the RMN. Like, we have a really unique opportunity
Yeah.
to be the church in this area that's very clear about this. But yeah, no, it's great to hear about all the connectional like opportunities that exist. You also spoke about like educational resources that exist within RMN. Can you talk a little bit more about what those educational resources look like?
Yeah, there's kind of a two-part thing there. So they they have a huge, you've probably been on their website, obviously, but they have a huge bank of resources. So like I'm going to just throw out some examples. I don't know if
Yeah,
they have these specific resources,
yeah,
but
yeah,
um, like we we want to welcome a trans person to our Sunday school class. Like, what are just some of the baseline like vocabulary that's helpful? Like,
yeah,
um, what? How can I understand the difference like between gender and sex? How can I understand pronouns? Like, so some of those like nitty gritty, just like let me get my like vocabulary um, kind of on the same page as other folks. And then they also offer like trainings all the time, and those are trainings slash like just like opportunities to learn, and those are evolving. So there was a training recently about kind of like how, because Rumtex is like our like subsect of Armin is completely separate from the conference, and that has been necessary. But there was a training recently about how can we like partner with the conference to kind of start to have these conversations like at a conference level.
yeah.
Again, staying, big tent and all that. But uh, like we do with like women in the church and uh, like that kind of thing. So, yeah, those are examples. I think better in the concrete, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, there's stuff like that happening like all the time. The RMN offers, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I think that's really good to mention like very specific educational resources. Like I know the one of the ones that like you mentioned like perhaps exists is like how to welcome a trans person into your Sunday school class. Like I think this is great because it's very tangible resources of like
Mhm.
yes, we've taken if we take this step to align, like that is a very clear message to the community. But again, like that's the beginning of a journey of education and of learning and of recognizing like hey, like we may not be able to answer these questions by ourselves, right? But we
Yeah.
have now like access to an educational network that teaches us how to be better neighbors and how to be more inclusive and how to create like safer spaces within a space that's already begun the work of being more safe. I know I just said the word safe like 15 times, whatever.
No, yeah.
We're doing this at like 9 a.m. I haven't had enough coffee this morning.
I,
But yeah. No, I think that's great. So I think, we're gonna have a conversation with you and two other folks, and I'm gonna conclude our time together always by asking the same question. And so the question that I have is, what encouragement or wisdom would you offer to our folks as we head into the vote on January the 25th?
yeah, I think some of the greatest joy of my last 5 years, 5.5 years of being a pastor, like has been with our LGBT folks. And like when somebody who doesn't, and I'm assuming you'll already have LGBT folks within your congregation, so it's not like you become RMN and then people walk in the door.
Right,
But
right.
um, when somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of other faith spaces to belong in is able to find belonging, like there's yeah, it like gives me chills. It's just beautiful and meaningful, and um yeah, I think Central is better because of our queer folks. Like they have taught us so much. They have expanded our understanding of what church is, like who God is. They help to remind us like to just constantly be like thinking bigger, to be asking questions. Um, and so yeah, I think I think a lot of times when we make decisions like this, a lot of the fear is about like what we're gonna lose, or what this is, how this is gonna like keep us out of maybe like certain conversations moving forward, or kind of like you mentioned, like the people who maybe will just never walk through the door. But and Michael, I imagine Michael will say the same thing, but we say all the time, like we've had those fears like when we've made like several different decisions throughout the years. And if we're living into our values, like, and we're making those decisions because we want our community to be more loving and more inclusive, like the stuff that we've gained, the people that we've gained, the community that we've gained, like far outweighs what we feared we would lose.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, I think, and I think this is also I without getting like too political, but I imagine a lot of folks are feeling helpless right now with a lot that's going on, and like this may not, I don't know, it may or may not feel like a huge step, but like it is like giving people a place where they don't have to choose between their faith and either their allyship or their queerness is huge, and it is like a big concrete like thing to do to
Yeah.
help LGBT folks right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully that's encouraging.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the things that you said that really struck a chord with me is like our space is better because of this. I think like our name Mosaic was founded out of like the coming together of all these different pieces to make something that's bigger than what we could be individually or what we could be if we were all the same. And
Yeah,
so when I think about the hope that could come in an alignment with Reconciling Ministries Network, I think about how we're opening up the ability to have even more pieces added into that mosaic, right? Like by
yeah,
becoming a safer space and making it very clear with clarity who we are. We allow ourselves to be a more grand mosaic than, like, I'm not saying that we currently are, because I think we are a great mosaic right now for all those
of
folks who are
course.
listening. Like, we're doing a lot of great work. But I think like we can continue to live more into that, and this is a good step in that direction. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
just
that's
appreciate the
beautiful.
words there. Yeah, yeah. Julie, this has been great. This is
Yeah,
one of three conversations that we're going to have, a lot of resourcing that we're going to put out in the next week as we head into the vote. But really grateful for your time this morning to sit down and talk about this. Really grateful for the work
yeah.
that you do with RMN and all the great work that you guys do at Central. Whenever somebody tells me that they're going to Galveston on vacation, I always ask them, "Are you going to be there on a Sunday?" And then they say yes, and I say, "I know you're on vacation, but like you should stop by."
Oh,
So
that's
just really
sweet.
grateful for the work that you guys do always.
Well,
So.
back at you when people are up your way looking for a church. I'm like, you should check out Mosaic. I hear good things. So
Sweet.
thank
Sweet.
you, and thank y'all for even considering taking this step. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
All
Thanks so
right.
much, Julia.
Later.
Bye.